Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to my live at five. Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to my live at five. My name's Steve Gaskell. I'm the challenge coach. I'm a high performance business coach. I know those of you in my groups, many of you will know who I am. Well, right now, I want to share some thoughts with you with regards to, how we're getting through as businesses in this time of crisis. And there's lots of different thought out there right now. There's, different sets in terms of some have grasped it, some are hoping that it'll go away, others have just had to close the doors. But there's a whole raft of things that we need to consider, and this afternoon I want to share with you. We've heard a lot about this word pivot, but what does it actually mean? So I want to share some thoughts with you this afternoon, and primarily I think the first context here is, most people think the pivot is something massive, and it doesn't need to be. And it's also that it's been enforced on me, and that doesn't need to be the case. I think the point that I'd like to raise this afternoon is the pivot is something that you can embrace. Hey, when you join us, just let us know where you're from. If you're local or further afield. And one thing I'd love to ask, please, I really want to share and help as many businesses as I can. That's why I'm doing this live at five. I've got a few of them all lined up. There's another 3 that's going to come next week. So, whilst you're thinking about it, just click that share button, fire this out to your network. If I can help a few more businesses get through this and survive, and maybe even thrive, then that's got to be a win for everybody. And that's what I'm aiming to achieve. That's what I want to do. So let's have a look at the pivot. And I think the point here is just taking an opportunity to look at where change presents itself in your business. We've heard a lot about the pivot. It's something that a lot of people are talking about right now. But what does it actually mean? What does it mean? So this afternoon, I just want to share over the next 30 minutes or so some ideas and suggestions in terms of what you can start thinking about in terms of what the pivot means. Now, the first thing I really want to talk about, and I want to offer a sense of mindset on this. And I think we've got to be really clear that mindset plays a significant part in the challenges that we're facing at the moment. Put it in the chat box. How much dissatisfaction have you encountered since this started? Now we're getting into a point where we might be feeling a little bit more comfortable with what we've done in the business, how it's structured, but we still don't know when the end is. And the point here is, think about those times that you've had a lot of dissatisfaction. The point here is, when we have a lot of dissatisfaction, one of the key aspects in that is it actually stops us from having any focus in terms of what our vision needs to be going forward. And the vision is something that is really kind of critical right now. I'm going to touch on this in a moment, but it's a point of reference is, how do you see yourself coming out of this at the moment? Here's the question that I've been posing to as many business owners as I can. Is right now you need to be focusing on, how do I come out of this stronger than when I entered it? How do I come out of this stronger than when I entered it? That's kind of one of the critical aspects. So if you've got a high level of dissatisfaction right now, the reality is it's going to cause a lot of resistance. It's going to hold you back. That's just the reality and the nature of the beast. It's how we engage and operate as human beings. So when we get a strong vision, when we have a real focus in terms of what it is and where it is that we seek to achieve in this, and we've got clarity in what that looks like, we have a much greater sense of what is that forward momentum we need to make, and more importantly, what are the first steps that we need to take. Strong vision equals a strong first step equals less resistance. Strong dissatisfaction and weak vision means there is going to be greater resistance to any first steps that you take. And just think about the last time that you felt disengaged, the last time you felt a high level of dissatisfaction. So grasping that concept is going to be something that is going to help you to actually determine and start to have the frame of reference and the right mindset to look at what opportunities are going to head in your way and avail themselves in terms of actually where the change opportunity might be in your business right now. So the next piece that I want to just stress on this one, with regards to where you are now and where you're aiming to get to, is all about positive communication. If we've got a negative mindset, and if we are not looking at this in a positive context, if we are feeling that this is something that's just going to hold us back, that it's not going to have a good impact, that we're going to lose our livelihood, or the business is going to go wrong, or this or that, and it comes across in a negative context, you're not going to see, it goes back to dissatisfaction, you're not going to see the opportunities. Your team, your people, your colleagues, your customers won't see the opportunities. The positive communication and really being focused in terms of where you are now and where you want to get to is going to be really important. So positive communication is about talking to your team, giving them the insight in terms of where you want to go to. As we've just talked about, share a positive vision of getting through this the other side. At the moment, we are suggesting that there's likely to be about a 90-day period on this whole process. Now we're already 3.5, 4 weeks into this now. So we've maybe got a couple of more months to go. Now, when you think of it in that context, it means there's an end state to it. There's an end game. Yeah, when we come back at the other side, lots of stuff is going to have changed, and it might have changed permanently. I think one of the things that's really interesting on this right now is the fact that it might well change, but the reality is I'm seeing a lot of change for good. Now, this is where these pivots come in, and where you can then start to think about what are the positive impacts that we can have in our business. So positive communication reinforces your vision, it limits the dissatisfaction, it creates that whole focus of being tuned into opportunities. Negative communication built on the back end of strong dissatisfaction is just going to derail you, it's going to derail your business. That's a fact. We want to come out of this other side. And let's be really clear. Don't we owe it to ourselves to just, do everything we can to stay in business and make sure we come out of this other side? This isn't a long-term impact if we choose to work, through this in appropriate ways. So positive communication is one aspect, but let's have a look at the pivots themselves and what I mean by that. This is really about getting ahead of change. It's really about where are you now, and what can I do to start to really, develop the opportunity so I can get ahead of change, rather than just accepting that change has been imposed on us. 3 weeks ago, I think on a Thursday I was sat in my office. On the Friday I'm told that I'm locked down. Everything changed. So what do we do to impact on that? What can we do to actually have a positive impact in terms of getting ahead of that change? Now, we've used the word pivot, and it's been, in many respects, like one of those buzzwords at the moment that might be overused. But I want to share it with you in a context that might get you thinking slightly differently. And it's simply this. I don't want you to think of, just a massive pivot, that I've got to change everything in the business. And we'll talk about that in a little while, because there is a focus on that. But I'd rather like to get you thinking about the fact that, what are the small pivots? If you think about it in the context of, 100 times pivots. So what are the small pivots that we can make? What are the small changes that we can make? If you want to put this into the context in the business world, many of you have probably heard of Doug Brailsford, and he talks of marginal gains. Well, these are marginal pivots. What are the small pivots that you can make in your business that's just going to actually slightly shift you in a direction that's actually a better focus of where you are right now and what it is you want to achieve? Some of these are going to be some of the aspects. Now, when we start to look at those small pivots, where can you look? Well, you can look at your products. You can look at your services. You can look at the way in terms of the marketing and sales, and I'll pick up on that in a little bit. What about prices? And here's an interesting one. There's a lot of people out there at the moment that are looking to take advantage of this in the way that let's get some discounts. Discounts are all very well and good, but one of the things that you've got to make sure that you are absolutely pivoted towards is how you're doing your cash flow in the business at the moment, how you are maintaining cash flow and cash in the business right now. If one of your pivots turns out to be, oh, well, let's discount stuff and sell it so that we can keep the sales coming in, well, that's not going to work. Because you might discount it, but that's going to knock it off your profit. I'm going to guess that your cost of goods are going to remain the same, and I might even guess that you may have less people doing more work, which makes it even harder. So think clearly about what that pivot looks like and where it is that you need to focus, because that's going to have quite a significant impact going forward. I hope that makes sense. So looking at your services, looking at your products, looking at prices and how you cost, your delivery. How are you delivering what it is you do now? Some of those aspects are going to be, really kind of, an interesting focus to change. Just go and have a look at how we're shopping now in the supermarkets. Have a look at B&Q have got a great example of, click and collect. Even their digital presence has shifted, whereas a waiting, so there's not a massive influx of people being able to get into B&Q right now. They've created a shift and a pivot online. What does that look like for you? What are the pivots that you can make? I've heard some great ones. One of my clients makes roller blinds. Well, they've just decided actually what we're going to do is we're going to make a clear roller blind. So for some businesses that can't afford the perspex or haven't got the time to get the perspex in as the supermarkets have done, they can fix something to the ceiling and put it down. Great pivot. Another client, who deals in education has realised actually, do you know what? We've got a lot of people sat at home now. We can put some education programs directly in relation to what it is that they need to do and what they want to do. Again, fantastic pivot. Not big and small, manageable. And if you think about it, the reason I put 100 times there, because when you start to look at these pivots in that context, the smaller pivots that you can make, that mounts up. That's why marginal gains are so clever, is because the small things mount up. So take a really, really close look in terms of where your business is right now and what that potential looks like. Because that's where your opportunity resides. That's where you can make a significant difference. That's where you can get ahead of the change. So it's not imposed on you, but you can start to actually maximize that. It might even be a case of when you come out at the other end, the impact is quite significant. Now, I did say I was going to talk about this. There may be a case that you've got to shift your business model in terms of what it is you're doing in business right now. I've had a couple of great examples, a couple of colleagues of mine, and one that is, in the metal fabrication, suddenly realised that what they were making was no longer viable right now. So they pivoted, and now they make bespoke dumbbells. That easy for them to do. They can utilise social distancing in terms of the business and the manufacturing side of life. The distribution is still in place, and again can be delivered in a suitable way. And then we can all have a set of weights in the back garden, bespoke to what you need. When you look at it in that respect, what a great model that was, is shifting the business. An even better one I had recently, very, very diverse, where an events business decided, I'm going to shift all the way across to actually looking at hand sanitizer. Alcohol companies, gin, whiskey distilleries, a lot of them. I've even heard of a cider company, all making hand sanitizer, just because of some of the byproducts and the processes they use work really well. It's a big shift in the business model, but then suddenly they've got the infrastructure and everything there to be able to do exactly that. So what does that look like in terms of you and your business? Because that can have a big impact, worth thinking about. So the business model is something that is kind of a place to focus. A little bit more challenging, and I guess for a business owner, it's going to be one that might even be a little bit more difficult to turn and say, that's a big step. Well, just think about the long term, and there's another reason why I'll pick up on that in just a moment as well. So it's really looking at this, and when all is said and done on this, when you look at the pivots, you're looking in terms of where are the marketability opportunities. think of this for a moment. Right now there are businesses out there that are absolutely thriving. Cleaning companies, PPE companies, paper companies, stationery companies that provides, that were providing toilet roll or do provide toilet roll. There's a whole list of companies that are actually thriving at the moment because they are, they are selling toilet roll. Not literally, but you hopefully understand what I mean by that. So when you look at it in that respect, what does that look like for you? Are there ways in your business where you can sell toilet roll in terms of pivot immediately to do that, or the small pivots to do that? Or can you have a look outside in terms of what businesses can I support that are already doing that? Or what businesses can I pivot to support that are already doing that? Now this is really blue sky thinking that you've got to start thinking on your feet, thinking outside the box. And I think when we look at all of this, one of the things that's really clear is you can sell your way out of this. Now there are some industries that have been hit hard. The leisure industry, gyms are shut, but even then, some of the gyms have decided, right, okay, we're keeping going. Our regular customers have collected a piece of gym equipment. Some of them have hired out their gym equipment. Restaurants and doing takeaway rather than sitting in. Bars and pubs. I've heard about a pub that shifted from being a pub overnight to becoming almost a drive-through farm shop. Selling their wares in terms of the food that they're making. So that there are ways in which you can all pivot through this. Hotels, looking to actually help and support the NHS and NHS workers, and maybe even crisis locations should they be required. It's not to be underestimated in terms of where the pivot is. Don't be a business that sits out there at the moment, feeling sorry for yourself, thinking that woe is me, that this has all happened. Because you know what? And without being too rude, shit happens. We've got to get over it and work our way through and get on with what we need to achieve and where we need to get to. And that's the point of this. That's what these pivots are all about. They often say in crisis is often an opportunity that comes out of it. And this isn't about profiteering. But I want you to, there's an analogy that if your house burnt down, would you build the same house again? We were on I was on a call last night and listening to a guy, I don't know if you know him, he's a guy called John Wirlow, and he wrote the book Built to Sell. It's all about how you can structure your business and, the key areas that you can focus in terms of actually being able to develop your business for growth. But it struck me when he said about this analogy of, if your house burned down, what would you do? Would you build the house again that you had, or would you actually improve upon it? Is this an opportunity for you to start to focus on where you can improve your business? Is this an opportunity on where actually when we start to come back to life, when the lockdown starts to shift and we start to come back to our working practices, and on some of the pivots that we've made, on some of the shifts that we've made in terms of what we do and how we do it, is this an opportunity for us to actually do something different that's going to have a meaningful impact in terms of how we, run and manage our business? I think when you look at it in that respect, there is an opportunity for you to go further, maybe 90 days down the line in terms of actually when we start to come back, we've got an opportunity to do something completely different on our business. What does that look like? Just think about that. Get some think time over the weekend, jot some notes down, and by all means reach out, and if you want to direct message me or share some ideas, I'd be delighted to give you some insights to that. But there's a real focus there in terms of how you can have an impact without any doubt at all. Something to think about. What if? Okay, a couple more things that I just want to go through really. And I want to talk about these in turn. The first one is about the diversification, and it links back to actually I've had to make or there's a potential for a significant shift in my business model here. Now, diversification is one aspect that we often talk about in the marketplace and how we can diversify what we do in business. But the other side of this one is if you have managed to identify a pivot that is significant and diversifies your marketplace. What's to say at the back end of this when you come out, it's not just coming out with the business that you went in, but actually you come out with a whole new diversified business opportunity. Now, I love it, in terms of what I do. I'm very, very fortunate, when I'm talking to my clients, that more often than not, I get some great BFOs from my clients. It's not just a one-way coaching thing. And one of my clients this morning on our morning kickstart actually turned around and said, in his recollection that actually right now it might be quite challenging because I've only got one business. And our CEO Brad, he's been sharing a lot of ideas, but Brad has been sharing the ideas about his multiple businesses that he owns. And my client said, I kind of like the idea of having more than one business, so I don't ever have to find myself in this situation again. Now, if you're a business owner out there and you're learning business and you're putting this into context, there's nothing to say that you couldn't start another business. There's nothing to say that if you have diversified and made a significant pivot in your business, or even a small one that has a business opportunity beyond this, that diversification for you is in actually starting a new business opportunity. And just think about that for a moment. When you think about that for a moment, that can have something that could have incredible impact in terms of where you are and what it is you want to achieve. The next piece I'd like to talk about is the ladder. Now, we've all got a service or a product ladder, or would like to think you have. And again, it's when we start to look at the opportunities in your business right now, we've just significantly shifted so that at the very bottom end of our ladder, there's probably a lot more capacity for people to engage with us, in terms of what it is you do. That might be products that you sell, services you sell, or whatever the case may be. But I don't know, many of you, if you remember the old window ladders, the wide at the bottom and then pinpointed at the top. And that's really, if you think about your product ladder, in this time of crisis, your top end, high value services or products, they sit at the top of your ladder. And suddenly you've got the opportunity at the bottom of your ladder to think, well, okay, how do I, again, these are the opportunities for pivot. How do I make sure I've got product lines or services that are in place that are, accessible now? They are affordable now. And it might be that actually I can fill up a couple of runs at the bottom of the ladder with elements that are going to be really, really incredibly useful to my prospects and my clients right now. Rather than sitting there thinking, we've got our product ladder and this chunk of stuff at the moment is just immovable because we can't do it because of X, Y, and Z, because of the lockdown, because of social distancing, because we're not essential, whatever that case may be. And suddenly the pivot opportunity is looking at your product ladder and thinking, what do I do down here? It might be, what am I doing up here? Or just revamping your product ladder completely. But it's really worthwhile just having a look in terms of what those opportunities are. Your product ladder. You have to pivot in terms of your sales and marketing. I'm going to go and do another one of these live at 5 next week, specifically on sales and marketing. But you have to really have a focus in terms of your sales and your marketing needs to shift. Right now, we need to be selling with more compassion. We need to understand the circumstances. We need to be more empathetic in terms of what has happened. You don't stop selling. And I think that the point out there that I would really stress with everyone is don't give businesses a hard time because they're trying to stay in business. Businesses are out there trying to do what they're trying to do because that's where they are and that's what they want to achieve. Don't give them a hard time about it. So the other side of this one is your marketing. And in this instance, it's come up your marketing message. There's still a lot of marketing that's going out there that dates pre, COVID-19, dates pre-lockdown. And when you think of it in that respect, the marketing side of life is something that you want to start to, develop in terms of how you can engage and what the message needs to be going forward, because it's different. And hopefully you can start to see that if I shift and make some pivots in my sales and my marketing, then actually I'm going to actually be able to get through this in a lot better shape. The last thing I really want to just finish off today, if I may, before you go away and enjoy what we think is going to be a pretty wonderful weekend, It's really about what we call the identity iceberg. There's kind of a busy flip chart there that I've got for you. But this is about how we unlock your potential. So I started this presentation at the beginning, this live feed at the beginning on, the whole point on dissatisfaction times vision is, creates the first steps to actually defeat resistance. What are the pivots that you need to make as an individual? Now, right now, the identity iceberg, what we see of you, what you present is above the surface. It's that 20% above the surface. You know the analogy. We see the actions, the decisions, and the behaviors. But when we start to dive below the surface and we start to look at the skills, your behaviors, the values, your identity, then we start to tap into where the opportunities lie. What skills do you maybe need to bring to the forefront right now? What do you need to change in terms of your learning? What don't you know right now that you need to learn? What do I need to learn in order to actually make a pivot in the business? What are your beliefs? The beliefs are that's really intrinsic right now. It goes back to that positive communication again. Have you got real negative beliefs in this? Is that mindset for you? Is it something that is really challenging? Or is there actually a focus here that, no, I've got some really, really strong beliefs on this. I sense that there is a way through, that we are going to get to the other end. Because when you start to look at it in that respect, you can start to actually reinforce, the skill sets that you need. The values in your identity are kind of like, they're almost deep-rooted, but these are what are true to you. And the point is here, the bottom piece here is your environment. And that's just, not just your physical, but your mental environment. How are you dealing with this? Now, in order to really get a focus in terms of pivoting your business, you really need to start to focus in terms of what it is you want to come out and how you want to come out of this stronger than when you went in. Now, hopefully, just a little bit of what I've shared with you this afternoon will give you some insight into actually what pivot really means. It's not just some big corporate word word that's being bandied around on social media. It actually is an opportunity for you as a business owner to look at the situation, understand the situation that your business is in, and then look to see, what can I do in terms of the 100 pivots, the marginal pivots. There are opportunities where I can make small changes, but they're going to have a dramatic impact. Can I have a mindset that on a week by week basis as we go through this, I'm going to be able to have a shift and a pivot as that becomes relevant. It's not good enough to sit here and allow change to be imposed on you. The point today is that you need to start thinking about how your business is going to survive this, and more importantly, how you can come out and thrive through this. I firmly believe that every business that has the right focus will come out at the back end of this stronger than when it went in. That I utterly believe. So I hope that that's been useful. There is going to be a lot more that's coming in the weeks ahead. I've got 3 that I've got planned for next week, and let me just tell you what they are. So I'm looking at next week. I'm going to discuss the virtual circumstance we live in. So I've talked already about lockdown leadership, so I'll touch on that. But I'm going to talk about lockdown leadership, about how we survive and thrive in a virtual business, and I think that there's some great opportunity there. And that's on Monday at 5. On Tuesday at 5, I'm going to be doing marketing and why your marketing must shift. That'll probably be a slightly longer live feed. I'm probably going to be on for about an hour on that one. There's loads that I want to share on that one. So again, do dive on to my Facebook. There's also going to be a Zoom link. So if you want to actually book in so you can remember it, dive onto my website. We're putting all of our events up there. They're all free. They're all designed to help you right now, and hopefully right now when you need help. I think that there's a British public where we're really good at certain things and really bad at others. And one of the things that we're really bad at is when we need help, we never ask for it. Well, you don't have to ask me. I'm just giving it you. I want to be there when we need it in a time of crisis. On Wednesday at 5, I'm going to be doing dealing with fear. Now, for those of you who do or don't know me, I'm a retired veteran. I've been in the services for 28 years prior to getting this started. I know a thing or two about fear. I faced it on a number of occasions myself, as many of you out there no doubt has. But in terms of prolonged stress and anxiety and feeling overwhelmed, there are areas that I can help with. So do jump onto that one. And then I'm going to be posting a few more that go after that. So again, if you find some value in this, if this has been useful to you in some small way, please just share the post, share it with your network. I'm doing nothing more than to help as many businesses as I can. If you find that you want to reach out, then drop the messages in. I'd love to know whereabouts you are and where your business is. I'd also like to know what businesses we're reaching as well. So what and who is on the line. It's 17:30. It's Friday. I think it's been a great week. I've got to say again, a massive shout out to all of our NHS. Please, if you're someone who has got connections to the NHS, we've got an NHS coaching support group, where we're helping, and seeking to help coaches to help those that are within the NHS right now. So there's some good stuff that's going to go on there as well, and I'll try and pop a link into it on this post. Until Monday, 5 o'clock. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you then. Thanks a lot.